Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey, what's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Let's Do This Together podcast. I'm your host, Arnold Telega Arda, and today is a really special episode because we have our first interview, and it is none other than the one, the only, Kathy Defensor, aka my sister-in-law. I really wanted to interview Kathy, and I wanted her to be my first guest because as much as I hate to admit it, she is one of the most impressive people that I know. She's just the type of person that has a winner's mentality. Whatever she sets her mind to, she accomplishes. She's very goal-driven, goal-oriented. And I would love to dive into her mind and see her thought process on what it takes for her to live a happy, fulfilling life. Kathy is a successful entrepreneur. She's also a social media influencer, and she's also a pretty cool mom. And after this episode airs, I'm gonna deny all the nice things that I said about her because I don't like complimenting her. It's weird, but I guess only this one time I will give her props. But before we get started, I want to read one of you guys' review. And this one is from Bianca Riley. And she said, a much needed content. Finished the first episode and it's so good. Definitely has a talking to a friend feel to it, which makes it so relatable. So yeah, I'm in. Let's do this together. Thank you, Bianca. Appreciate that a lot. And for the rest of you that's listening to this, feel free to write a review and give me a 5 stars. If you guys like what you hear, let me know what I can do better, or let me know what you want to hear from me. We are on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and Instagram as well at Let's Do This Together podcast. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Kathy Defensor. There it is.
Can you hear me?
Well. Look at your professional background, though.
Can you hear my show?
Yes. Are you in the corner of your office?
Yes. No, I'm actually in Katina's room.
Oh, that's a very nice.
Homework.
Okay, very nice nursery you got going on.
Thank you very much.
So
here, Lagarta?
we're just gonna get straight into it. It's already recording.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Hello.
Just diving right in. We were supposed to do this at 12, but I changed it to 1 because I woke up at 9 because I didn't realize that there's a time change today.
There was?
Yeah, there's a time change today. My
What
car,
happened?
it was 11 when I got to my car, it said 10. You don't feel it?
No.
Yeah.
I guess I did. So wait. So it's 1 o'clock right now, but really it's 12?
Yes.
Oh wow.
You got robbed. It's the worst time change. I always love it in
Wow.
October, but it sucks because you lose 1 hour of sleep.
That's why I was like, Katina woke up pretty late today. But it was at the right time.
Why are we still doing that?
I don't know what the purpose of that is.
I feel like are we the only state?
We are the only one. Now you feel like we are the only one that does that.
It serves no purpose. It doesn't make sense.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I
thought I was doing such a great job of sleep training.
You sleep train? What does that mean?
So when you sleep train, well, I try, but so she doesn't have to wake up at like odd hours. You sleep train, so that way she stays in bed.
Oh, you're talking about
until a certain time.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, she's exhausted, so I'll be able to sleep in because we went to your house yesterday.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, she'll be tired. She'll sleep in a little bit. I could get some sleep in. And I'm like, oh, it's already 8 o'clock. She did sleep in. I'm just being tired.
Yeah.
But no, she woke up at the same time.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, cool.
I just want to let you know ahead of time, I'm going to dread these next few minutes because unfortunately, I'm going to have to praise you. I'm going to have to give you credit.
Well,
credit
let me get ready for this.
And give you your props, and that doesn't come natural to me.
It comes
So
naturally for me. I know you do it all the time.
I don't like it. I don't like it, but I'm gonna do it because I have to. I'm gonna pretend like I don't know, but how have you been? How have you been through this whole pandemic?
I think there's no word for it because every day it changes.
Yep.
Every single day it changes. And just when you think you got a handle on things, you don't. You really don't. You know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like parenthood would like smack you right back into your place and be like, no, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything figured out yet. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a day by day. There are some days where I'm like, I got this, like I got this day. I got the pandemic down. I got parenting down. I got my business down. I got this. And then the next day I'm like, oh man, I just want to stay in bed. Nothing is working out the way I wanted to. The kids are all just screaming, and it's a frat house because you got kids screaming, yelling, fighting for toys, things missing. You're looking for stuff, and nothing is just panning out the way you want it to pan out. So
Yeah.
I think it's a day by day thing.
I mean, I feel like
That's
that's the best
why
way to look at it.
I genuinely, like I was telling you, I was like, I think the content of this podcast is
Mhm.
very much needed because seriously, like I don't think there's one person who could says, you know what, I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know that.
the pandemic is the source of this podcast. That's why like I wanted to start it, And
That's right.
you're right. It's just crazy. And then like we're all guinea pigs here. We're all guinea pigs. And isn't that crazy how last year we were celebrating Hart's birthday and it was before the world shut down. And I remember Hart saying like, wow, like I'm one of the rare ones that gets a normal birthday.
Yes,
And
you're
now
right. I
she
think that was
gets,
the last time we saw each other for a
yes.
while.
And now she just got a pandemic birthday, right?
Yes.
It's still here. It's still here. It's
That's
nuts.
crazy. It's very crazy.
Well, here comes the praising part, Kathy. All right.
I'm ready.
Unfortunately, you're one of those rare people that I feel that's just good at everything. Like I know it's not easy, but you have a way to make it look easy, whether it's education, whether it's this. I'm really hating this. Whether it's
I know. I'm loving
education,
it. It's okay. Go for it.
whether it's education, career, adulting, like you've always, I feel like you've always had it in check, and you're very smart, and I'm curious to know, did, did you know that like as you were a kid, like did school come like easy for you? Were you one of those students that's just bored at school because you feel like you already know what the teacher is trying to teach you?
So I think school for me wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible for me. I wasn't one of those kids where like, oh, I dread going to school. There were
Yeah.
some years, definitely sometime maybe in high school where I dreaded going to school,
Mhm.
but for the most part I liked school. I didn't like participating in school, but the social aspect of school I liked.
So like you love stuff that happens outside of class, but not
Even
in
inside the
class.
class, because you
Okay.
guys are engaging, you guys are talking, and if there's a subject that I really like, I'm one of those students that would really study because I know none of the other classmates would study. And then if the teacher asked a question, I would raise my hand proudly. I was one of those annoying kids. And
Wow.
teacher
You're
would say,
Monica in Friends then.
yeah, like in I think every year would be different for me, but I remember there's some subjects that I really like, the teachers I really like, so I would go out of my way to study and just like be present for their class. But for majority of my school year, it wasn't like that. I didn't like participating in like when they ask questions, and I think I got in trouble a lot of times because of that. I think teachers would call on me and because they thought I wasn't listening or paying
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah, I
And
remember
then
the
when they
story.
called on me, I'd be like, I know the answer. That would frustrate them because they're like,
Yeah.
why don't you just participate? Why don't you just blah blah blah? I don't know, but I don't know. I was a kid. To me it was like I know this already. I don't wanna have to go through it.
Uh,
It was one of those. And in the Philippines, well, this is in the Philippines. It's
uh-huh.
different there. They embarrass you. Teachers there will embarrass.
Yes. And not just Philippines, just like Asia in general, like same
Yeah, they
situation.
will. They would embarrass you. So I don't know. I don't know why I would do stuff like that, but I did.
Wait, I think I learned from heart that I feel like the school system is pretty much the same from Indonesia and the Philippines because I don't know about you guys, but we got ranked. Like,
Yes.
like
How
let's say
did
there's 30 students. Like, if you're
like
the
for
smartest, you're like
morale? Like
one,
I
two, three.
understand not how bad that was, but like they did. They ranked you, and
Yeah.
everybody knew what class you were in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you were in part of the smart class or the not so smart class.
What was your number?
I would be in two or three.
Wow, impressive,
Two or
impressive.
three. Yeah.
And that, how many? Do you
Um,
remember how many students were in the class?
64,
What?
63. There's a lot. Me and Kenny, we would talk about that all the time. It's like, there's just way too many students. Like, not everybody's going to get the same amount of attention. Not everybody's going to be da-da-da. My last name is Defensor. So, obviously, I would sit
Mm-hmm.
towards the front of the class.
That's
So,
right. It was alphabetized.
I would get, I feel like I got the attention that's needed to learn, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what if the ones that are in the back, right? And I would always question my teachers, like when I would cut class, because I did, don't do this, kids, but people would, like teachers would notice, where's Defensor? Where is she? Where is this? Where is that, right? And then, but I remember my friends or my classmates that would be sitting in the back, they could cut class and no one would notice. And I'm not one to snitch on them, like, hey, they're not here. But I remember they would be able to cut class and no one would notice. And me, I cut class because I felt like because I was sitting in the front, people would notice all the time that I'm gone.
Yeah, that sucks.
Maybe no one is being loud. It's quiet.
Did you guys, for us, every week we had to get our nails inspected. Like we had to make sure our nails are clean.
How about your hair?
Yes, I think so too. Like our hair had to be a certain length. And that's just not my school. It was the whole Indonesia like school system. So back in the day, like I think it was like every Friday, the teacher would be like, all right, with a ruler, all right, put your hands on the table and we're all like this. And the teacher would just walk by. Huh?
They hit you with a ruler?
Yes. If your nail is too long, pat, right there. Right on your hand. Did they do that to you?
I don't think so. I don't think I ever had nail problems, so I don't think they did that. I do remember. I know they do crazy stuff like that. I remember one. I don't know why. I don't know why she did it, but I remember this one time she stepped on my toe on purpose.
What? Your teacher?
I don't know. Yeah, she did.
Wow, that's built up anger from all those times that you didn't participate.
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow. How
But I
passive
think
aggressive
going back to what you were saying about handling stuff, I think my sister tells me that all the time also. It's like, oh, you make things look easy.
Yeah.
I genuinely think I don't. That's the funny part. Yeah, I genuinely think I don't. I think I go through the motion, I process it in my head, but if you could only see what's going through my head, you'd be like, oh, she's freaking out. She's a human being. Because I always thought that I'm still a human being. Even Kenny, I'm like, I'm still a human being. I still process the same thing. But outside, it may seem like, oh, like she just went through that effortlessly. But in my head, if you would have seen everything that went through to get to from A to Z, there was a lot going through. And I think, me, you, and Hart, we have this, and Hart as your wife, I think everybody knows that here, but we go through this talking session where sometimes when there's something that we're dealing with, all three of us would like talk about it and kind of like analyze it until we figured out an answer.
You know what's funny about that is that, yes, the three of us would do that. And I would say exactly what you'd be saying. I'll say it first and I'll tell Hart. And she's like, yeah, let me just have that like sink in. And then she talks to you and you tell her the exact same thing that I just said. But because it's coming from you, it's like, okay, you're right. I should be doing that.
That was a good idea.
Yeah. So you get we both have the same idea, but you get the credit.
Yeah, that is true. You've said that so many times. We're having discussion. Like that's the exact same thing I said.
Yeah.
But I think for me also, like when I'm going through something that I like, and I talk to you guys about it, and then we just kind of like analyze it. But there's a lot of process that goes through my head before I even voice out anything. I think that's what it is, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, because I'm a person that analyzes things internally, which isn't always good, especially during a pandemic like this. You can't do that. You can't be doing that because sometimes, especially during a time like this, there's a lot of stuff that you don't normally deal with.
Mhm.
And, listening to what happened to you, if you guys haven't listened to his was it your last podcast, or like maybe two
Like
podcasts?
first one.
Was it the first one?
Yeah.
Um, it can catch you. It can catch you, catch you off guard. And
Mm-hmm.
before you know it, it's materialized into something else.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, where is this coming from? It's
Mm-hmm.
because your body, there's a lot of stuff physically, emotionally, mentally that we're going through right now as a
Mm-hmm.
society that we normally wouldn't go through.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's a lot. It's a lot. But
Yeah.
going back to your childhood, like through the times that I've known you, you've had a lot of jobs, like
Mm.
all your businesses and everything. But as a kid, did you have a certain goal, like I want to be this when I grow up, or was it very vague? Was it just like, oh, I want to be successful, I want to be a businesswoman, or did you have a specific goal?
That's interesting because I wanted to be in the medical field. I wanted to be a nurse.
What?
I know.
No
Be
way!
a nurse. I said I was going to be a nurse. That's what I was going to be.
Wow, how
Um,
Filipino of you.
huh?
How Filipino of you.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know why that was instilled in me, but I was like, oh, I'm going to be a nurse when I grow up,
Huh. Is
And
it? Do you
throughout
think
high
it
school,
was through? Do you think you were inspired by your family, or did you have a lot of like
I
family
think
members who
everybody
were
in
in the
my
medical field?
family was a nurse. I know my mom was in the medical field, but that wasn't until later on when she became that.
Mhm.
I don't know. Ooh, I don't know how that came into mind, but it was in my mind that I was going to be in the medical field. I
I think when you're
tried.
sleeping, when your mom would just go like, "Nurse, nurse,"
Maybe.
and then
Yeah.
it got put into your
And
brain.
I think you were already part of our life, right? When I started taking medical classes.
Probably was that Mount Sac or something?
Yeah, well, no, Masaka was already in graphic design. I was taking some medical classes, but it didn't pan out because I don't like blood. I don't like drawing blood. I don't
Same with
like
heart.
needle. I'm not. I found out that I'm not that nurturing type.
Okay.
So I'm being honest. I wasn't the nurturing type.
You're not the nurturing type to strangers, but to to your
That's true.
family, you're very nurturing.
That's very, very accurate. That's
Mhm.
very accurate. But so yeah, I'm like, oh well, not
Yeah.
me. But then I really got into graphic design and just
Okay.
website design. So that's kind of like where I found my way. But you're right. Like I've never been the type to just stick with like one thing and I'm set. I'm more of the like I like to explore stuff. So when
Yeah.
I find something that I'm passionate about, like ooh, I like
Mhm.
this. I like helping people with this. I jump. I want to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why you've seen like a variety of stuff that I've tried
Yeah,
throughout the
you've gone through so many different lanes because like this is the one thing that I noticed about you, like all the jobs that you've had, I can't remember you working at an established 9 to 5 company that's already established. Most of the time it's always a startup.
startup.
And is that important to you that like you like specifically choose a startup company because you feel like you want to work at it from the ground up, you want to be a part of it, or was that all coincidence?
That's actually an interesting observation because unknowingly, I think that's what I wanted. I wanted
Yeah.
to be part of something from the
Mm,
ground up.
yeah.
I didn't want to be part of something that's already set in stone and they already have their system running and it's already all the kinks have already been figured out.
Yeah.
I think that would just not I wouldn't get, not that I would get bored, but I would just be like, I feel like I can't be of value anymore because
Mm,
there's nothing else to like, you know, build.
yeah.
And I'm a builder. I'm just in by default, like my character is just, I want to be able to add value to whatever that is.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
at every company that I've ever worked at,
Mm,
I feel like I've always peaked. I would reach the peak of my career in that thing, and then I'm
mhm.
ready to move on to
That's
something.
true. That's very true. Yeah.
So I have this life coach
Mhm.
before when I went through that leadership program that mentioned to me like, oh, you have the type of character that will excel in anything you choose to go after, like
Mhm.
or anything you, yeah, something like that, something profound. But he's basically said that anything I put myself in, I'll just excel by default, just because that's my character. Because I'll
Yeah.
be like, ooh, I want to figure that out. Ooh, I want to do this. I want to do that. So that's so profound to me. Like whether or not I I actually was, but because somebody said that to me,
Mm-hmm.
that was like, I saw myself in that light. So that's why I think it's so important also to make sure you acknowledge people for what you see that they're good at, or
Yeah,
what you see what they bring value to, because it kind of waters that for them.
that's
So
true.
an accumulation of all these people that have been in my life to kind of just, nurture that side of me that needs to be nurtured, I think has a lot to do with how I handle things today, or, however, wherever they.
Yeah, and I can firsthand by experience say that you definitely have been nurtured because you've gone through so many leadership trainings and just like positive reinforcement type of trainings. And I remember going to some of those with you. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time, I didn't really appreciate it because I was like, what, like 19, 20 or
Very
something
young.
like that. I was like, okay, whatever. But I just remember like you'd always be all in, right? Like it kind of like takes over your life a little bit. And I just remember, I forgot what company it was, but it was all about positive mindset and being a strong, independent woman. And I remember you were all about that. And then I just, it's like you were so in that at one point I was just thinking to myself, man, is Kathy like in a cult? Like what, what is this
He
company?
never
Like
told me
she's
that.
so like passionate about it,
He said,
huh?
well, yeah, I think Hart was telling me that. She's like, I think she's in a cult, guys. But yeah, but I think that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes just putting yourself out there completely
Hmm.
to just really submerge into whatever it is that you're going. Otherwise, if I were just to dip my toes, I don't know how much I would have gotten out of it.
Hmm.
And there was a
Yeah.
lot, like whenever you're called upon to look at yourself, to observe why you do the stuff you do, why you think the way you think, why you make choices the way you make choices, it gets really uncomfortable. And I think that's one thing. That's one thing that I can, I guess, give credit to how I handle things,
Hmm.
is you got to be so comfortable in being so uncomfortable.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
You've got to be so uncomfortable in the not knowing, because
Mm.
it is in those moments that you're like, that breakthrough happens. Like
Wow.
it's easier said than done, because when you're in the moment, it's hard, but it is really in those moments that you find breakthroughs. And I think that's time and time again, that's for me, it happens time and time again.
I remember
So
one of
whether
the
I make
tips.
it look easy or not, but in my head, there's a lot of uncomfortable, there's a lot of thoughts I go through my head. I have the same conversation. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not going to work. Or, oh my gosh, I'm failing. Oh my gosh, it's this and that. All those go through my head. But like I said, it goes through my head.
Mhm.
So I process it the way I process it. And then you just get it done. And at some point you just have to go, we have this thing in the leadership called
Okay.
level 5 commitment. It's
Mhm.
do whatever it takes to just like get it done. Level
Mhm.
5 commitment. So if all else fail, I think of that and I just kind of psych myself into
Wow.
getting whatever it is done.
Yeah.
Yeah, done.
I remember one of the tips that I got from you was that whenever it comes to something, like whatever, it could be a group project for certain people or like a presentation. I remember you saying to always volunteer first and just get out of the way so you can like, like get it out and just bite the bullet and get it over with. And yeah, I
Yeah,
think that was
because
one
you
of the
have,
things
you'll
from
have
your
the best
leadership.
experience, I feel like, because you put yourself out there first
Hmm.
to experience it before anybody else.
It's scary. Like I remember like doing book reports. Like I don't want to be last. Like I would never want to be last. I feel comfortable like if I'm the fourth person or like third. Because I just want to like test the water a little bit, see how the first two would do. And sometimes it would actually help me because like let's say the first two suck and it kind of builds up your confidence. And I guess that's kind of like playing it safe, but you're right. Like if some people would also say to look for those uncomfortable situations for you to grow. So for you to seek out like, to be the first volunteer, that
Yeah.
takes guts because it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I know I've shared this with you guys before, but I was always saying, like, in life, there's really no way to measure if you're playing big in life. People are always saying, oh, you got to play big in life.
Mhm.
Play big in life. There's only one life. You only live once. But
Yeah.
there's really no way to measure that, right?
Yes.
But for me, I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, well, the only way you could really measure that is if you know those like little, and I know I wrote a post about this years ago, but you know how like you feel those butterflies in your stomach right before you do something?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like both nervous and excited at the same time.
Yes.
Really, those are very uncomfortable, but really that's one way to measure if you're up to something
Yeah.
big, like
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than you could like, oh, wow, I'm playing a big game here. That's
Yeah.
you have to be super comfortable with feeling that,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way you could kind of like, okay, I'm playing big, right?
Yeah.
Because without that, if you're doing something and you're chill, you're like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
Is it really that big?
Right.
It's easy for you. It comes very natural to you.
Yeah.
It's not really a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So that's another way of measuring whether or not. That's another way I would measure if I was
That's a good point.
doing something big in life.
Yeah.
Like when I moved to when I did the whole San Francisco thing, that was
That's right.
massive for me. Massive.
Yeah,
So
it
nervous.
was.
That was
Just to let
so.
you guys know, Kathy moved to Frisco for, was it 2 years?
Almost 3 years, I think.
It doesn't feel like it's crazy that time in our lives. Like it felt like 3 months to me for some reason. But yeah, Kathy moved to San Francisco, and like that kind of hit the family out of nowhere because Kathy and Hart and her brother Mitch and mom, they're like a tight unit. They're always together. So you were the kind of
Yep.
like the first one to like venture out
Yep.
and do that in a city where you knew basically no one. You
Nobody.
only had your
I
dog
didn't
at the
even have
time.
a house there. I didn't have anything over there.
Okay, but sorry, go on, continue.
I did, yeah, but like to me that was a big. When I look back to it now, I'm like, dude, that took a lot. But at
Yes.
that time, I was just like, oh, I want to do that. Let's do that, And I'm
Yeah.
super glad I did, because that was right before I had Kaden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was so new. Nobody was doing that. Nobody was moving to another place without their family, without anybody
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I didn't have a house there. Airbnb is kind of around, but not really. So it's
Yeah.
fairly new, right? It wasn't as safe as it is now, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It was just very, and like I had my family here. I had my husband here. Like that was very new. Like for you to move over, it was just very new. But to me, it was like, oh, I wanted to do that. I want to go over there. I think this company I could really add some value to this company. And it was a tech company. I loved everything about it. And it was going to be in San Francisco. And growing up, I would watch a lot of show that was in San Francisco. So I was already
Full house or
determined
what?
to be and live there.
Wow.
Full
Some
house.
research. I love that.
Yeah. So I did it. I went, and 3 years down the road, I was so glad I did it.
Yeah.
But that's just an experience that no one can ever take away from me, because that's an experience in itself. Like I feel like that's a lifetime in itself, where I got to experience a whole bunch of stuff
Yeah.
and got to know myself even better, because I was just there by myself. There's really nobody there to I had to make new friends. I had to find my way around. I had to kind of like manage myself also.
Yeah.
It's very new. So I enjoyed that. And every time somebody gets an opportunity to do that,
Yeah.
I would invite them to like not shy away from stuff like that. I would invite them to really think about it and just see what they could get out of that opportunity. Because I think a lot of people would tend to like shy away from something that's uncomfortable. But don't. It's just, you just go through it one day at a time and see where it brings you, I feel like.
Yeah, no, that's a great advice. And I remember like that, you're right. That was such a leap of faith because your mom, Hart, and myself visited you for the weekend in Frisco. And I remember like thinking like, dang, this is such a different lifestyle than where we were living, because it's definitely like a city, a busy city. You were renting a room, but it was such a cool room. Yeah, you had a roommate.
I have a house over here and I have a roommate over there.
Yeah. Again, it was just you and your dog Coco, and then like you were our tour guide for the weekend. And I remember like you were driving us around, and like San Francisco is not an easy place to drive around in, like with the parking situation. So, and I think you don't like to drive that much, so that must have been like another challenge for you, right?
I don't. You're right. I don't.
It's
I
crazy.
prefer not to.
Yeah.
And then mind you, I also have motion sickness, right?
That's right.
There's
Yes.
a lot of commute there. So that's another
Mm.
challenge, right? I can't just be jumping on, like I remember I had to wear my C-band bracelet for like
Yeah.
3 months because
Yeah.
whenever I would commute, I would get dizzy. So
Hmm.
stuff like that, like I'm just so glad that I didn't let it stop me, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that could have easily been like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that, you know? But
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't,
Hmm.
because I did get a lot out of that experience.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I said this earlier in the podcast, and again, I don't like praising you, but
I
you're
like I love how you have to say
I
that
have
before
to.
you compliment.
Yeah, I have to. I had to just, lay it out there. But you're really good. You're like on top of being a success. Like you have a positive mindset and everything. But another thing that you can add to the list is that you're a very fast learner, in my opinion, like a super fast learner. And I feel like whatever life throws at you, like you always tackle it. Like, when Heart and myself started this whole YouTube thing, everything was like new to us. And, we were just like kids. And then like, we would just like ask you for all these like advice and everything. And you always nailed it like a professional. Like, I just remember this one time, like when I first started YouTube, um, I think till this day still, like, I don't like dealing with, um, negotiations or like meetings and things like that. I'm great at being friends, I'm great at small talk, but like I need someone to do the dirty work, I guess. And I remember when I first got into my first like YouTube network, and they were like negotiating the contract, like I was like, I can't do this alone. But I don't know if you remember, but you played the role of my manager. And I don't know if you remember this, because like I
I think
hate
I played
talking
that role so many
numbers.
times though for you
Too
guys.
many times, yeah. But I just I hate talking numbers, so you'd have to play the manager so you can be the bad guy in the situation and handle that. And I just remember like, man, like she's really good at this job because you were really pushing for me, right? You're like pushing for me, and you wanted me to get what I deserved. And I remember like thinking like I'm so the opposite of that. Like I'm just such a people pleaser
You're
that
like, I'll take it
you
free.
know, I remember like I was trying to sell the network to you. Do you remember that? Because like they
I
were like,
didn't think I was telling you. Stop selling them on me.
yeah, and I was like, Kathy, the numbers they're offering me is fine. It's gonna be great because they're gonna do like great things for me. And you're like, Arnold, are you really selling them to me right now? I'm like, I'm trying to help you out here. But my point is like, I feel like this whole YouTube thing. It's when it started, it's not what it was. It's not what it is today, and everything is still new. It's still fairly new, but again,
It
like
wasn't what it was before.
yes. But my point is like you adapted really fast. Like whatever it is, whether it's like a contract or whatever, like we give it to you to look at, and you're very like, and you learn it, and like you learn the industry, and you're able to like tackle it, and you come off as a professional, and that's a skill that not a lot of people have.
That's interesting. That's
Look at
very
you, so humble. You're like, oh, I do that,
Yeah,
really?
thank you. I never noticed that. No, but I think that's interesting because I think a lot of stuff that may come natural to me,
Yeah.
right, and not to you, there's a lot of things that I could say, man, that comes so easy for Arnold. That
Mm.
might not come so easy for me. Like, engaging with people, like what you do right now. Like
Mhm.
we always tell you that talking to you, or the way you have conversation, you make it so easy for people to just have a conversation.
Mm.
Whereas other people, it's like, oh, hi, oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like we just can't carry a conversation that way. So I think each person, depending on how they were raised, depending on their characteristic, they do pick up on their weaknesses and their strengths. So you guys have just been, but you guys are good at identifying what my key strengths would be and
Mhm.
leveraging that, right? And I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
that's key. I
Mhm.
think in everybody's circle of friends, everybody has their weaknesses, everybody has their strengths.
Mhm.
So if you leverage the strengths of those around you, I think you could accomplish more in life. I genuinely believe that. So, so I'm always, and that to me, that's like, it's not even a burden to me when I do that, because it's like, when I look at it, it's normal to me, right? Whatever I'm looking at a contract, it's normal to even the companies that I've worked with before, right? They'd have me review all these like legal jargon, and I look at it and I understand it, and I don't know why I understand it. My stepdad said I should have been a lawyer, but I would understand it and I'd
Yeah.
explain it. But I think that's just part of that might have been because my stepdad said I should have been a lawyer, and I should have, and I think it just intrigued me, like when I read stuff like that, and I understand it. I don't know, but
Yeah.
maybe it's that. But I think identifying someone's strength and leveraging it, I think
Yeah.
that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And it's kudos to you and her for recognizing that about me. That you're like,
Yeah.
hey, she can do this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
her herself too. Like there's a few things that we've gone over, and I'm like, and I'll always be laughing because I'm like, do it yourself. But the thing is, with me and her,
Yeah.
over the phone, we
Mhm.
sound very much alike.
Very true.
So there's been conversations I can't confirm nor deny where they thought they were talking to her,
Right.
but really,
The mastermind. So we established that, you're very goal oriented, and, you've been very successful in the career path that you've chosen. But then you became a mom. So how did that change your life?
that's a good one. I think that's definitely an adjustment.
Yeah.
That was one adjustment that I didn't. Okay, if you think everything else, I was able to kind of just like jump in and just be like, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
The mom part, that took a minute.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely took a minute because even when I had my first baby, it wasn't planned or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew eventually we would have kids, but I didn't think it would happen
Yeah.
right then.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a lot of adjustment to figure out who I was now
Mm-hmm.
as a mom and how to balance it with everything else that I have going on. And I think to this day, it's still the same. Like, especially when I thought I had it figured out with one, we had another one. So,
Yeah.
and then the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different meaning now. I definitely think I've had to step up even more so because now you're like tutoring, you're homeschooling, you have a newborn,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
to take on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think moms in general, I think they're I was telling Kenny, I think God made moms
Mm-hmm.
with special brains to allow them to like process everything, like 100 things all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because um sometimes there are days where I'm thinking to myself, man, that was a lot to, like, I go to sleep and I think to myself, man, that was a lot today. That was a lot. There's a lot of stuff that could have been better, but that was a lot to handle today. Like, I go to sleep like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's I think I'm still trying to figure out a balance between work and
Mm.
being a mom.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for a lot of parents out there, that you're always trying to find balance.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's one of those things that you take it a day at a time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then there are going to be days where you get so much done. It's going to be super productive and you're killing it and
Yeah.
everything is just flowing. But there are going to be days where you're like, no, nothing's going to happen today. You're going to stay in your PJs. The kids are
Yeah.
cranky. Nothing's going to, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. And I think you have to give yourself a lot of grace and not be too harsh on yourself.
Yeah.
There's this thing that I when there are days where I'm having days like that where I'm like, man, I'm just like, as a mom, I'm just like not killing it today. It's just not working. They said that you should look at a picture of yourself as a baby, right? And then, or as a kid, and you start saying all that negative stuff you're saying to yourself now to that kid. Exactly. And you won't, because you're like, why would I say that to that kid? Exactly. So if you weren't going to say it to that kid, why are you telling yourself that? To me, it's
Wow.
wow, that's pretty profound. I'm gonna use
Mic drop.
exactly. So, I invite you to use that. I invite anybody listening to this to use that. Have a picture of yourself as a kid, and then whenever you feel like saying negative about yourself, look at that picture and be like, say it to that picture. If you can't say it to that little kid, don't be saying it to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Good point. One of the things that I do appreciate about you as a mom is the fact that, some of my friends, they're new parents and they have babies and everything. And to me, it seems like their life kind of just stopped. And it's all about like taking care of the kid comes first. I mean, which it should be that way, but they just look more like more into the kid. Like, it's also about them. It's all about them. You're like that too, but in a way, like, to me, it seems like your life still continues. You still get to be you. Like, like, just because you have two beautiful kids doesn't mean that that you have to stop taking care of yourself, that you have to stop from having fun and do the things that Kathy likes to do. And I think that's really cool because it's really refreshing to see a parent that's able to do both. And I know it's a lot of hard work that I can't even imagine, but you're still able to give your kids your all, but at the same time, you're still able to take care of yourself and also have fun and still do the things that you used to do before you had kids.
I think the pandemic is helping a lot,
Mm.
right? There's not a lot of things going on right now.
That's true. That's true.
It gives me an excuse to just be home. But there are times I feel like there's a lot of stuff too that I'm not able to do anymore. Not that I'm not able to do it, but then your priority changes.
Mm-hmm.
So should I go in a night out and go out and drink?
Yeah.
With friends?
Yeah.
Or should I just sleep in because I know the baby's gonna be up early the next day?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'd rather just kind of sleep in because I know I'm going to be tired and I don't want to be like that the next day. So it's choices also, but I do believe that you shouldn't give up the ones that actually genuinely brings you happiness. You know what I mean? Like, that brings you joy. Like, if it's something that brings you joy, then you should definitely always do it. Like, whenever we go to, okay, so let me give you an example. Like yesterday when we went to go to the park, right?
Yes.
Like, I knew that was gonna be tiring because we have all these kids that we're trying to like bring to the park, right?
Yeah.
And they're gonna be complaining. There's gonna be walking and all that stuff. But you do it because one, it's gonna make them happy.
Mm-hmm. Two,
it's gonna bring something different to your life because we haven't been able to do that in a while, right?
Yeah.
So so to me, it's like, it's just priority, I guess. I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's definitely changes. I mean, I have friends that would tell you otherwise, that before they would used to see me all the time. I'd go out all the time, but now I won't be able to I don't do that anymore because I know that I have two kids at home and one is attached to my hip. So
oh yeah, for sure.
I can't really do that anymore. But finding a balance between doing stuff that genuinely brings you happiness actually replenishes you as a mom. Moms,
you're right,
by default, are givers. They just give.
Yeah.
They fill everybody else up. But then what happens is it depletes us as parents, as mom, it depletes us.
Yeah.
So if I leave it to just give and not do anything to replenish myself, then that's going to be a problem. Because then I won't be able to be of good anything to anybody. Right?
Yeah,
I know. Oh, 1 second. You hear that? Let me grab are you recording still?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I told you. That's why I've been calling you.
Hello. Good morning, Katina. Wow, I love the hair choice. I know that's the choice for sure. What's up, Kaden? Hello, buds.
But see, I think this is a perfect example of like how life just happens, right?
Yeah.
I could be in the middle of a conference call, meeting business wise, or whatever, and then when the kids are up, Yeah. It doesn't mean that I have to stop being a mom. You can't put a pause on that.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
But I just need to be able to find a balance. And I think one thing that I've actually learned a lot of during this time is time management. And out of anybody else, that I don't have very good time management. I'm always
This I know.
You're a very time like prompt person. Like you like being on time. You like doing things
Yes.
on time.
Yes.
I'm the opposite. But I think being a mom, it allowed me a little bit more discipline
Yeah.
to have time management.
I don't know if you remember this. This is like when Hart and I were fairly new into our relationship, but we were already together. But we were celebrating my birthday. I don't know if it was like my 17th or 18th birthday, but it was at my parents' house. And just like myself, my parents are very like, prompt. And then
Because I think I know the story.
yes, yeah. So it was my birthday, and we had a little like shindig in the backyard, and we were waiting on Hart and for you guys to arrive. And I think at this time you probably had like one of those crazy nights at night. You were probably getting over, like from the times that you drank a lot of milk from the other night, and you're trying to process that. So you came a little late. Well, not a little late, a little late. And then you came in and you thought like, the party was already happening, but we literally waited until you got there. And then when you guys got there, we're like, oh, okay, there they are. All right, now we can cut the cake. We can like sing happy birthday and all that. But yes, so I do remember you not being so good with time management at the time.
Right, exactly.
Did that bring you some
that
cringe
happened
moments?
in more than one occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And I always clown you for like being super early at the movies.
Yes. Because I think ahead. I'm thinking like, all right, I want to see the trailers. I want to
Get that snack.
I get 2 hot dogs. I want to eat at least one of them before the movie starts. So, you just got to think about future you sometimes.
Exactly. So I think that's one thing that I've learned. I've learned to discipline myself on a little bit better.
Yes.
Management.
And one thing before we wrap it up, and I'll let you go back to being a mom. Like through this whole episode, you've been giving advice, you've been dropping knowledge. So I want to end it with this. What advice, if you were to go back in time, what advice would you give your young self, like as like a 10-year-old kid? Like if you were to go back in time and meet the 10-year-old version of you, knowing everything you do now, what would you tell her?
It's interesting that you would say that, because I actually think of that all the time. I don't know if everybody does that, but I do. I think of that. Like, what could I tell myself if I could go back? And it always boils down to enjoy yourself. Wow. Like I feel like I've always been out there trying to prove myself that there are times that I didn't not that I didn't enjoy myself, but I just rushing to be an adult.
You didn't appreciate the moment.
Yeah, I did. There you go. That's a great word. I didn't appreciate the moment. I didn't appreciate my accomplishments. Yeah. Even though I was accomplishing a lot at the time, they weren't a big deal to me. I didn't appreciate them. I think when you do that, it leads to burnout. It leads to tired. It leads to being depleted. And then you don't get to enjoy yourself and appreciate the moment as much. So with that being said, I would say everything's going to be fine, and enjoy yourself. Appreciate the moment, appreciate the accomplishments, and enjoy what you've achieved in every level, right? Every level. Because I think a lot of us, sometimes we set out a goal, we accomplish it, and we move on. We're like, okay, that's done. Let's go. No, stop. That's a big deal. You set out a goal and you accomplished it. Celebrate it. Yeah. And then set a new goal. So I think that's what I would tell myself.
I love it. That's really good advice. Well, thank you, Kathy, for this chunk of time that you have given us.
Thank you for all the kind words. I genuinely appreciate it.
After this goes up, I will deny this episode. And will pretend like it never happened.
What if I edited this whole thing and I just cropped out the part where you were?
It's all just like montage of like compliments after compliments.
Arnold.
Yes, Kaden.
Can you come to our house today?
We're celebrating Ninang Hart's birthday, remember?
We have to plan for that next time, okay?
Yeah. But we'll be there soon. We'll make it happen, okay?
Arnold, thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun in your podcast.
Thank you, and thank you for being the first guest.
Oh, yay! I am the first guest! Yay!
Well, enjoy being a mom, Kathy, and keep Sundaying.
Okay. Let's do it together.
Stop.
Wow, that was a really, really great interview. She dropped a lot of gems in that one, a lot of knowledge. You guys can follow Kathy on Instagram at Kathy Defensor. I'll leave it down a link in the description below. I hope you guys really enjoyed that interview and I hope you guys got something from it. I definitely did. Some of the stuff that she said, I definitely needed to hear. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to give me a 5-star review if you guys like what you hear. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section below and give me a thumbs up and all that good stuff. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And until then, I'll see you next time.